Cooking the right cuts of Woodson James Angus beef will yield one of the most tender and tasty pot roasts you ever ate. A good pot roast is made from the naturally tougher cuts of meat, like a brisket, a bottom round, eye round, or my favorite, the chuck roast. Cooking these roasts low and slow in a little bit of liquid is going to make a fork tender pot roast that'll warm you even on the coldest days. So let's get started making our pot roast. We're going to start with a 2 to 3 pound chuck roast. And make sure that the outside is very dry. Just want to pat it dry with a little paper towels. And then we want to dust it in some seasoned flour. So we've got a couple of cups of flour and some salt and pepper. Then we want to take the roast and just dredge it both sides in the flour. We'll shake off the excess so there's not too much in the pan. Then we want to brown it in a hot pan. So I've already got this pan on the heat, nice and hot. Want to put a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in there. Swirl it around to cover the bottom. You should see that smoke come out right away. Shake the excess flour off, and you should hear that sizzle. This is going to take 3 to 4 minutes to brown on one side. Then we want to turn it over and brown it on the other. Now we browned one side, turn the roast over and browning the second side. You can see the darker colors that are on top of this roast. That's going to add so much depth of flavor to the gravy later on. Let's get our roasting pan ready. Once both sides are brown, we want to take that roast out, put it in our roasting pan, and now we'll add our vegetables. The pan is still hot, has some drippings from that roast in there, and we want to add some celery, carrots, and onions. We want to brown the vegetables. That's going to add more of that depth of flavor to the gravy. We want to get some brown marks on the onions, some dark color on those carrots. It's going to bring out the natural sugars and add so much more flavor. Now that our vegetables are browned, we want to add our broth and the seasonings to the pan. We've got some beef broth. And to the beef broth, we want to add some dried rosemary and a couple of bay leaves. As those bay leaves cook, they're going to give off so much great flavor. And just bring that up to a boil. It won't take long because our pan was so hot. We're going to add the vegetables, the broth, and the seasonings to our roasting pan with our chuck roast and put the whole thing in the oven. Oh, it smells great already. Want to make sure that the vegetables are on the sides so the steak has plenty of room to cook evenly. Cover it up real tight with foil. We want to put this in the oven for about 2 hours at 300 degrees. I've got another pot roast that we had in the oven for 2 hours. Just took that out of the oven. And you can really tell when this pot roast is done by using a kitchen fork. If you put it into the roast, turn the fork, and that meat flakes away very easily, then you know it's done. Sometimes if it's a little bit larger, it should take longer. So put it back in the oven, cover it up, and check it every 15 minutes. So enjoy this sliced right away, or refrigerate it and warm it up during the week for another meal. Warm up your family with a Woodson James Angus beef pot roast.